Hello and welcome to our Saturday stream. This is a Fantasy Grounds map and image creation. And I'm Josh, so thank you everyone for joining me today. It's been a couple of weeks, so we had a little bit of a break there because of the holidays. So I hope everyone had a good holiday. So we'll be jumping right into our stream today. We have last art packs that were released were the Dungeon art pack and another jungle art pack, I believe. I can't actually remember what was released this last month. But coming up, we actually have a couple of desert art packs that will be released this month. So we have a desert art pack, and then we have a desert ruins. So that should be fun. That'll be coming out later here in January. Also up and coming is a whole bunch of new art packs. We have some more sci-fi ones. Some modern ones coming, just some typical kind of modern environments, as well as a Western art pack. And let's see what else I've created, as well as like a Victorian era one. So lots and lots of cool stuff, lots of diversity coming your guys' way in the next few months. Besides that, we recently have been testing a lot of very cool image features that I can't really discuss in too much, but I just want to let you guys know that there are some really major things coming in the months ahead, so it's very exciting stuff. But lots of other changes along the way. We have fully released our sidebar changes, which is great. I think that works really well and it looks super snazzy. So everything is going well there. Other UI changes will be on the way as well, updating Fantasy Grounds into a much cleaner and more intuitive kind of experience. So it's really great stuff. So let's get right into creating some maps. I think that the last thing that we were working on, was dungeon environment. We were working on this, right? We had done this using the new dungeon art pack. And all of these art packages come out, are included in the art subscription. So if you do have that, you are able to use that. Everything that comes out. We release two art packages every month, or one big one, depending on how it gets kind of divided up. But there is lots and lots of stuff. Oh, thanks, Fenster. Yeah, so this is really cool. Super fun art package, and there's more dungeon ones on the way as well. So we have a lot of cool stuff coming out here. So we'll be getting into building some more maps today, doing lots of different stuff. So if you guys have any suggestions on maps, throw it out into the chat there. I'd love to read it. But we'll let's rename this so that we don't get too confused here. And we'll be putting all of these up on the stream. We could also add on to this too if you guys wanted to. We could create some more dungeon environments. I could also show you a little bit of the desert stuff that's coming out this month. We can go into our assets, move this over. We have a desert map pack. We have lots of cool new backgrounds, sand and whatnot, rocky environments, and all kinds of transitional ones as well. Yes, on the Forge. That's correct. All of the images that we create here will be going up on the Forge. I have a bunch of additional images ready to go, maps that we've created, and we'll be putting them up there. So we have a whole bunch of new backgrounds, and if we, I can just, let's create a new kind of image here. So you can see this has got quite a bit of texture to it. This one has some built-in kind of ground plants and whatnot, and these all are completely seamless, so they all just like snap together and work as you would expect. So all of this kind of just goes together here. And as I said, that all of these kind of transition from one to the next, if you so wish. So you could take out a sand one, for example, and you can easily just kind of transition it into something like this. And continue on creating it. And so these are all just to actually use these in an additional kind of way here. We'll just rotate this, and we can create these kind of little ones along these lines here. In addition to that, we can, let me just put a couple of these back here. And let's just flip this one. You can create these little environments like this very easily from one texture to the next. And then obviously we can go into our effects where we have all of these nice little painting areas here. If we go into our stamp tool, I can grab out maybe something like this. And let's create a new painting layer. And then we can just stamp out any sort of variations that we might want. And we can control our alpha. We want to do some additional kind of elements. Now the way that these two art packs are kind of divided up, you can even add in some additional sandy elements like this. But there's also, besides the ground, there are rocks and whatnot. And if we get into our decorations, this is the meat of a lot of these environmental kind of assets. We have all kinds of new rocks and oh yeah, you could do that fairly easily. So basically, you could do it one of two ways. Are you thinking of doing it like a mound, Spencer? So the question is, how would you show bullet or ankh trails, like gopher trails, under the sand? So here, let's actually do this really quickly. We'll move this over and zoom in here a little bit, and I'll move back. Let's grab a couple of these elements, and I'll expand this out so we have a little bit more room to work with. Something like this, and I'll grab these and I'll just drop them down in here. Yeah, so if you wanted to create a mound in the sand, all you're going to do is create like a shadow, right? So you can do that very easily with either an effects layer, or you could just do it with painting out the actual shadow or mound that you want to. So where we have this regular kind of texture here already, or I could actually implement a brush for doing this if you wanted to do it a little bit more natural looking with the sand. But what I would actually do is first let's create an effects layer. And we can go into our adjust colors. We'll make this 45, 45, and then this one as well, 45. And let's say we want to do trail along here. And we'll blur this out. We might want to actually change the shape of this a little bit depending on how we want this to interact. And I'm going to blur this out even more here. And I'm just going to hold down Shift to take some of this away a little. I want a little bit more gradual on these ends. And then I'll actually create a new effects layer. And I'm going to go in the opposite direction. We'll do like 55, 55, and 55. And again, we'll add a mask layer. And I'll do like a highlight on the other side here. And again, we'll blur that out. And we might want to adjust this the intensity of that depending on how we go here. And this should be a little bit more narrow, more along these lines. So let's drop this down to maybe something like 2. And we can go back, and if we want to, we could increase this actually. But if that's something you guys are interested in, I could certainly just throw in and create you an automated kind of brush for this, where you could just kind of paint it out and have like little end pieces that you can tap on there. That would be pretty easy. But that's how I would do it, as it is currently. But there's a lot of these elements that you can just kind of drag and drop out here. Or paint along these lines. There's a lot of really cool grass, for example. And if we zoom in here, you can see we got some nice little grass textures. So you can make some very interesting kind of environments here. And anything that you really want to kind of engage with here. So we can grab some bushes, for example, and paint those right over the top. Oh, Happy New Year, Landrast. And you guys can have a lot of fun with this. And there's a lot of elements that you can kind of just drag and drop out here for quick kind of creation systems. And start to build up complex environments quite quickly. And this is all of the natural elements that you might find in a desert, both. Oh yes, and I actually, it's interesting that you say that, Trudster, because I actually have a Western pack that will be coming out shortly as well. So this is kind of a precursor to all of that in addition. So yes, lots of cool Deadlands stuff for you guys. And then if we go up into, let's see here, we also have the Desert Ruins, which will be coming out. And this is very much in the same kind of vein here. We'll use the same background here. This has all kinds of cool brushes for you guys to now work with. So if we go, let's create a new painting layer. And so here we have all of our nice walls and whatnot that you kind of come to expect probably. So we can build these nice cool kind of environments. Let's a little entry area here into our ruinous area. In addition to that, there's all kinds of like wood scaffolding and whatnot we can kind of build with. And some of these walls, it's actually kind of cool, is we have some built-in kind of foliage into them. As you can see. Some nice little added elements there. And again, we could erase out this middle bit. Go along these lines. Oh yes, there is. In fact, I was just saying that there's more modern stuff coming along the way. I have a couple of additional art packs that are modern, that aren't as apocalyptic, more like traditional kind of just modern stuff, as well as Victorian things, more sci-fi stuff, Western. What else have I created? A lot of stuff. There's a lot. Some industrial areas for like moderns, as well as which would be great for like creating like bunkers and whatnot. And we have, let's see here, paint out like these cool like scaffolding areas, fences, and we have a bunch of new floors here. Let's make that half the size here. So you can create your no World War II era stuff yet. No actual. And now that you mention it, I don't think I've created any modern war type things. So I should definitely look into doing that. I'll write that down, Steve Quinn. That would be really cool. Do like tanks and lots of cool like World War II kind of like trenches and barbed wire and things. I can see that being super fun to use. We have some steps leading up here and a bunch of different shapes for our floors. And then we can get into our decorations, which there's quite a few decorations through here to create all of your little environments. Oh yes, we have a pretty full functional, not even pretty, it's a very full functional and fully thought out and well implemented map creation system. One of the great things about doing things inside of FG, anyone who, well, let's go back into our brushes here. Let me just delete this painting layer and we'll create a new one. And I'll grab one of these walls. And here is one of the really cool kind of functionalities that we have that kind of work well as it is integrated into Fantasy Grounds from the ground up. Is we could, for example, pull this out. Let's switch over to our paint tool. Let's see, we're going to do all of our walls in here. Maybe we're going to do one like this. And I might come in and use my eraser tool, open up some areas and some doorways. You know, I can come back in and add in some additional kind of elements. But this is all done like very quickly here. We might even want to do like a circle area too, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, maybe pull out a little round element here. All we have to do is jump in here and we can generate all of our line of sight walls automatically. So we can switch over, we can just click this button and you can see it'll generate all of our line of sight for us. Which is super handy and save you a lot of time. And there's a lot of additional kind of cool elements that'll be coming in the future that will make this integrated even so much better. So very, very cool. No bio techie type packs yet. No, but you can definitely kind of integrate a lot of things. And one of the cool things that I've actually been thinking about doing is, and we could actually do it today on the stream if you wanted to, thinking about creating more of of a organic kind of feel. And we can do that in lots and lots of different ways. Yeah, Bryce, definitely. You should definitely check it out. It's awesome. I actually love making maps inside of Fantasy Grounds. It does not, Dean. So the question is, does it add an additional layer? Nope. So if you drag and drop things out, it'll make a new layer for each thing that you do. But when painting, we can create a painting layer. And so, for example, let's switch over to our painting tools here. And let's say I paint out some elements here. And then I switch over. You can see that this is all going to be on one particular layer. We can switch over to our stamp tool. We can go into our decorations and let's just grab some debris. And I can start to stamp this out. Do piles of things, and then let's do some piles of like bricks on top. And so it's all going to be just on this one layer. Let's see, Landras printed some cacti for some Malaphobaces. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you're very welcome, Dee. So you have total control over how this kind of interacts, and because of the layering system, we're going to get into actually building a map here in a second. You'll be able to see all of this different functionality kind of come collectively into one cohesive map creation system here. But one of the cool things that I just created for this was I made a nice rock texture for this, and it's very organic looking, and I think that we could use it to make like a cool kind of organic-y environment. So yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we make like a semi, because I want to use some of the effects layers, I think that we can kind of create it, almost make it look like it's undulating a little bit. So let's do that. That sounds fun. We're going to create kind of an organic area. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problem. If there's anything that you feel like is unintuitive or any particular areas that you struggle, let us know. Obviously, from my standpoint, I use it a lot, and so everything seems very natural and intuitive to me. But if you run into anything that yeah, well, if you guys ever struggle in a particular area, let us know. We want to make it as smooth and intuitive as possible. And there's, as I said, there's actually some changes coming down the line here that are going to drastically change the functionality here in a good way and smooth out a lot of the creation process. So let's close this down. I'll actually just delete that. And we'll start to actually build out an area here. And you guys can see there's, and all of the maps that we create, I put up on the Forge. So anything, as long as you have access to the map packs, you can download them and use them for free. We've done quite a lot here throughout this last little bit of time. We created some really cool kind of jungle elements. Let's see, are these the ones, these jungle ones? Oh yeah. So we created this really cool area a little while ago. Doing some nice little transitions from like a jungle area up into like a snowy area. And we even created like a little cave here and did the interior over here. So if I turn off, we did some water on the interior and lots of fun stuff here. So you can see that you can create some really pretty high fidelity kind of maps right inside of Fantasy Grounds. And then we did that. I really like this one that we did too, the Frog King layer, where we did all of these water kind of elements. That water is a little bit too exaggerated. Let's adjust that really quickly here. And we did like a sunken kind of statue out here. Let me just fix that water really quickly. So we'll go into the water effects layer and I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Maybe something like this, and let's drop our speed down to maybe 2. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, we did lots of cool different lighting effects and some water puddles here and there. All of these we created on our stream, so if you ever want to go back and look at any of these, we have tons and tons of stuff. We did a bunch of sci-fi ones, but recently with all of the jungle map packs, art packs that have been released, we've been doing a lot of these. We did this jungle bridge. Lots of cool stuff. Oh yeah, I'm glad you like it. And these are all created with the map packs that we make here in house, the ones that I make. So these are all available to you. And if you do have the art subscription, you get all of these for free. So I believe it's $5 a month or $50 a year. And so far we've released 30-something art packages. We do at least 2 a month or one big one. So you get hundreds of new images every month. And all of the themes that we've released so far too, which we'll have more of those coming out this year as well. But lots of cool stuff here. So those are the ones that we've just been creating recently. It's tons more. And then this last time we started to create this dungeon environment. And so the last month, December, we released a dungeon art package, and this is created with that. Some different kind of elements. I was showing off the different types of walls, one with a slight bit of a perspective to it, and these are the more of the traditional kind of top-down ones. All created inside of Fantasy Grounds. Oh yeah, well you can very easily, if you take your old paper line maps, and you scan them in, or you could probably even take a picture of it. Now you can import that particular picture and then draw right over the top of it and create your maps inside of FG. Super easy to do. The hardest thing for you probably do is get the scaling correct. But once you get that down, it'd be really easy to convert all of those over. Lots of fun stuff. So yeah, let's create a kind of something a little bit off the wall here. We'll do like a kind of bio-organic area. Maybe it would be like the inside of a giant creature. Perhaps there's like a large creature underground or something. So you get this mix of maybe a typical kind of environment with a lot of other stuff. And if we go back to the actual Frog King layer here, all of this water is only created with effects layers. So if we hide this, as you can see, I created these shadows with an additional effects layer, these little pockets, but all of these pockets are just filled with effects layers to kind of do that. And we did that, as you can see, this is just to add some a little lighting elements there. But the rest of this is all done with actually changing. And I did a separate one for inside of the cavern just to change the scale of the lighting here a little bit. So there's a lot that you can do inside of Fantasy Grounds with all of the different tools and layer system. And we can do something similar to this in creating, even if we wanted to do like puddles of blood or whatnot, we could do it all very easily, or goo. So what other type of elements should we do this? Should we have it in any particular location? Should we do it underground? Part of I was thinking about creating like a living dungeon where it is like the inside of a giant animal or something. I think that would be a really cool and unique kind of environment. But what kind of elements do you guys think would be cool to go along with that? As we go into the new art packs that are coming out in the desert map pack here, there's a particular background that even though it's a rock texture, kind of looks like skin to me as well. And I think that adding that in will be super cool. We can, because it's a seamless texture. And what we can actually do, let's actually create an image record from this. And I will drag this out. So we have a little bit more space to work in here. And if I duplicate this, let me just select it here and duplicate it. Oop. Make sure we're in our correct mode here. You can see this kind of just all goes together here. And then I can grab these and let's move this up. And I can duplicate this again. Oh yeah, we could do like ships, and we could do like it's a giant whale or something. That sounds cool. Maybe we could do like a little area inside. Oh yeah, Tremors. What a great movie. Yeah, or like a giant sandworm, like Dune. So what I'm actually thinking is that if we do something along these lines, let's go to our effects layers, and we'll create a new effects layer here. And we have all of these cool elements in here that kind of change and add motion, especially when it comes to our water and ocean parameters here. And you can see that this kind of makes it undulate. We can drop our droplet all the way down, and then we just get this undulating kind of mass underneath. Hopefully that kind of shows up well through the stream. And we can add in some color adjustments to this and do lots of cool things in particular areas. So one of the cool things about the system is that we can add masks to this, and we can even increase the intensity of this if we wanted to. But we want to make sure we don't make anyone ill by looking. But what we can do is, let's say, for example, and I'm just going to exaggerate this a little bit, but we can enable a mask here. What this actually does is it will only allow this to come through in particular areas. So when we go and we have our reveal area and our hide area, we can actually drag out particular elements, as you can see here. And you can see we're going to get a little bit of a divide there, but we just blur that edge, and now we're going to get these cool kind of undulating areas here if we wanted to. I can hold down Alt on the keyboard, and then I can just draw out any of these areas, as you can see here. This will allow us to create these strange little areas in here of this. Hey, Rob. Little environments, right? And we can delete this mask as well and create this weird pulsating area. So let's dive right into this and start to make it exactly what we want it to be, right? I'm thinking that we'll do the interior, and we can do like some kind of construction in here as well. Maybe do like people that have been swallowed and whatnot. So I'm going to delete this effects layer for now. We're going to be adding that in later. We're going to get all of our groundwork in here first, and then build up these other particular areas here. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we can kind of create more stable kind of environment, stable elements, and then we can kind of use this as our backdrop. We can create this like a little bit of undulation here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the colors of this a little bit. We can do this a bunch of different ways. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a folder, and we'll call this bio background. And I'm going to drag all of these right into that folder. So now I can just use this folder to kind of change all of these parameters. If I jump now over into my Layers tab, I can use this color picker, this tint, and you can see I can start to adjust all of these at the same time. Now the cool thing about this is that anything I now drag and drop into this folder, if I have any other elements, it'll do all of this adjustment to it. It's going to kind of trump what's ever previously set in here. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll make it a little bit more red, right? Not quite that much. So we're going to drop this down. We're going to find a good element in here. Or you know what else we could do? We could do it this way, but let's create an effects layer. Let's show a few different ways that we can do this. And I'm actually going to drop this into my background as well. And in this effects layer, I'm going to do an adjust colors. And now we can kind of, this way we'll be able to easily adjust it on the fly. Let's add a little bit more blue to it. Maybe bring our brightness down. We can actually do this. That's a little bit bright for me. So let's bring this down. Now let's go in the other direction here. So just drop the green down to like 45, and maybe we'll make that 48. Yeah, something like this I think would be good. Cool. Now when we can, whatever we do, I'll create a painting layer and drop that down in underneath as well, so that anything that we kind of paint out will be kind of through that particular area. Now we can add a mask to this as well if we want to do particular areas here. So if I wanted to create a mask, I could do little color sections, for example. And we could do this and then blur this out. So we get lots of weird splotches. But we'll leave that off for now. We're just going to kind of interact with the system as we're kind of moving through this. And again, if you guys have any sort of suggestions or whatnot, please feel free to throw them out into chat. We'll try to accommodate as much as possible. I want to do like little puddles of some sort of wetness in and amongst this as well. Really get this kind of feeling like an area that is weird and gross. I think that'll be fun. Depending on the scale that we're going to be doing this, so let's actually put on our grid right now. Let's change this to 100, and I'm going to drop down the opacity of my grid system here. Make it like 50. Be good. Just so I have a reference of how big a character is going to be on this particular land. The next thing I will do is we'll create another effects layer, and I'm going to drop this down in. Let's do it above this particular area here. And we'll go into our effects tab. And I'm actually going to do another adjust colors layer here. And I'm just going to lighten it up here. Let's do it to like 60. I'm going to add a mask. Then I'm just going to draw out some little areas in here. And this is going to be where we're going to create some pools of stuff. We'll be able to change this later. And I'm going to fuzz this out in a minute. But I'm going to keep it pretty sharp as I begin to do some connections in here. One of the cool things that we can do with this system, as you can see here, is I'm going to blur this out, but I can duplicate this, right? And if I duplicate this, it will duplicate the mask that I've created as well. So here we have these little light areas, and now I'm going to duplicate this. We'll put this back on top here, and we're going to change this from that to water. And you can see that we've already started to do this. I'm going to actually drop down the intensity, and I'm just going to have the droplet here a little bit. And we can lower down the speed here a bit. Now I can go back into my adjust colors here, and I can start to add these in here. So I might want to bring this down and bring down my brightness. And you can see we can start to make this kind of like a bloody little mess here. Or whatever color we want. Maybe we want it to be green. Or a little bit kind of green. Maybe we want it to be something along these lines where it's kind of gross. And again, we can blur these edges out as much as we need. The next thing I'm going to do to kind of start to add in some additional elements in here, so I can begin to either paint in or I can use another effects layer. But we've used a bunch of these now, so let's add that in with our painting layer here. And I have some elements down here that I use a lot. So one of the cool things that you can do inside of Fantasy Grounds, so let's say we decide that we're going to be using this a lot, I can drag this down into my hotbar, and then I have constant access. I don't have to search for it anymore throughout the system here. So going into my painting area, I'm going to actually grab this guy, and I'm going to come and drop this right in here. I have this nice white fuzzy kind of sphere that I'm going to be using my stamp tool to create some shadows and some highlights along the edge of these pools. So I'm going to go into my color picker, and I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to, don't want to hit enter quite yet. I'm going to do 0. And I'm going to bring this down almost to 0. So we're going to do like 25. And then I'm going to adjust the opacity. I can hold down A on the keyboard as long as I have this selected. Use my mouse wheel to adjust the opacity. And I can use a control to adjust the size of this. I can also turn off my aspect lock ratio. And I might make this a little bit oblong as well. And I can use the Shift key and my mouse wheel to change the orientation, the rotation. So I'm just going to start to paint this in. That's a little bit dark for what I want to do right now. So I'm going to hit Control Z and hold down A. And again, I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this, this kind of feeling that there is a reason why that these puddles have been created in these little areas here, right? I'm going to make the it feel like there's a little bit of a lip along there. And I can zoom right in here, and we can do some of these smaller ones. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, but with a highlight. And we'll jump right in like this. I think we'll do a little bit more along that side there. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and do a little bit more of a gradual kind of element along some of these edges over here. Nice. Now what I'll do is I'll come back in. I'm going to use the exact same painting layer over here, except this time I'm going to increase this all the way up. And I think we're going to do actually, let's make it a little bit on the yellow side. And I'm just going to add in a little bit of a highlight on this edge. Now, like I said, we could also do this with effects layers. There's so many different ways that we can kind of interact with the system here. And we'll probably come back in and adjust this later. But I'm actually going to rename this painting layer now before I get too far ahead of myself. And I'm going to call this shadow slash highlight. So how you been, Rob? Did you have a good holidays? And I'm gonna smooth out some of these areas and through here. And we might actually even I'll create like a little edge along some of this as well. We might even come back in and create another painting layer. We might do something along these edges to help differentiate a little bit more. We could even do, oh yeah, we could do lots of stuff. So here we have these pools. Maybe this is like the inside of a stomach, and these are like acid pools. So let's actually create a little bit more with this, right? I'm going to go back into the effects layer here. Let's turn that droplet down a little bit, not quite so much. And I'm going to duplicate this as well, this up here. And I'm going to go to the snow area, I think. And we're going to change the speed all the way down to 0. Increase the intensity here a little bit. And now we're going to get this nice little interaction here. We have these little like floaty devices in here. And we can adjust that. Might want to change the size here a little bit. And I can put this down in underneath the water too, so it's not quite so. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty gross. And we can paint in some additional kind of elements on top here as well. I think what I'll actually do is use some of like the roots and whatnot, and we'll make those look like veins kind of coming over the whole area here. And then we'll build right on top of this and create some stuff. And then we'll add the last thing, we'll add that like undulating element over the top that will kind of get this like this pulsating kind of like feel. So yeah, what we can do is I'm going to go all the way up in here, and here we have our images. I'm just going to type in root, and this is going to pull up all the different types of roots that we have available to us. And these are the ones that I'm kind of thinking about as being something, and this is going to be in the underground art pack too, map pack. So if we grab some of these, we can go back into our painting layer over here. And now I'm going to create a new painting layer. And we'll put this right in underneath all of our shadows and everything, because we want this to kind of be affected by all of that stuff. Well, I want to make sure I'm in my stamp tool here. And that might be a little bit too much for me, so I'm going to actually lower down the opacity of this. We could even change the color of this if we so wish. So we could make these a little bit redder as well. Yeah, something like this. I should actually grab this hexadecimal code. I'm going to hit Control-C. Or you know what we could do, and here's probably a better way to do this. Let's reset this to its original kind of scenario here. And what we'll do is we'll actually create a new folder. So in this painting layer, I'll drag this out for right now. Drag it out of here. And we'll put this on top. And what we'll do is we'll do this on a per level kind of area here, rather than do individual kind of painting. We'll do it on the layer itself. And I'm going to keep this out of the other stuff for right now, just so that I can adjust it a little bit freer. So here we'll create these little elements, and then we can do these like smaller ones coming off here. One of the things I really enjoy doing is repurposing lots of these elements in ways that aren't necessarily the way that they're intended to be used. I find it very fun. You can see we're already starting to get this kind of like feel that this is a rather strange kind of environment here. We'll even do some that kind of lead down into these elements here. Is it Landras? Me too. Can you add the hex code to a hotkey? I don't believe so. I've never actually tried. Oh yeah, we could do 2 layers, one for the arteries, one for the veins. Oh, have fun, Landrast. I'll show you what I'm actually going to do to kind of blend these in a little bit more as well. So we'll add in some elements here, like this. And I'll grab a couple of, maybe something like this one as well. And some of these little entry areas here, little startup bits where they don't quite blend in quite so well. We're actually going to grab this guy. And because this is all handled through adjustment layers, when we put this down, it'll all just work. What we can do is we can grab this guy and drop him in here, which is the same texture as this. And I'm going to lower down my opacity of this. And I'm going to fade in some of this stuff. We'll have it kind of feel like it's coming in and out. Excellent. We can even do like a cool kind of rounded wall along the edge here. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So now when I grab this and I drop this down in underneath our shadows, you can see that the color adjustments are all already handled in there. And I can paint directly on top of this. We can kind of add some cool little I always like to kind of break up the edge of my maps a little bit. It doesn't feel so confined. And we can actually do this in layers here. I'll show you what I mean by that. Now these elements, we can now go back in and do, I'm going to lower down the opacity of this quite a lot. And layer some on top, so you get this like layered kind of effect where you have some that are deeper. And I'm sure you could come up with some cool kind of play mechanics, the way that these interact. And see, again, we can grab this and go back in. I think I'm going to go around and break up all of this edge on the outside here. I think I'll actually create a new painting layer underneath and do this fully opaque down here. This is going to even make it feel a little bit more organic here. And then we can come back into this one. And this is going to be, we can do like a curved kind of wall along here. So yeah, I think it's starting to really feel like some sort of fleshy environment. Now what we'll actually do is let's add in our water element here. We'll drop that droplet all the way down. You can see we have this nice cool kind of element here. Let's drop down our intensity so it's a lot more subtle. It kind of feels like this living, breathing kind of environment. Drop this down in here. I think what I'll do is actually kind of do a little bit more with the textures down through here. I'm going to grab this. Well, make sure that we switch back over to our painting area over here, painting tab. Go back into our shadow highlight area. And we'll make this feel like it's a little bit more oh, we'll have to drop this painting layer in underneath. You want to make sure that the shadows affect all of these areas. I'm going to do some larger shadows kind of coming from these areas. And we can hide this for right now so that we can kind of just work. And we can build a little bit of these edges. We can make this a little bit more of a crisper edge here. See, we have a question here from Jedrius. How many types of sight can the LOS system handle? Like, say, I've got one PC with thermal imaging and one ultraviolet sight, and with a seismic sense and one with normal human sight. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, all individual tokens can have their own sighting system. So your actual tokens in the lighting system itself, we have token vision. And you can also set them to different parameters on how big of an area that they can see and so on and so forth. So built in, we have 3 different types, but you can create your own as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of implement these systems. And you can do that if you go into your options. You can see that we have token lights. So here, these are the actual lights that you can actually have here that are attached to your character, which you can kind of set up through this system. But these are all, the presets here are all determined by rule set specific, whatever rule set it is. But you can have all of these different parameters kind of gauge exactly how you want it to be. So you can, each individual token can have its own set of line of sight rules. Not really rules, but how it can see and whatnot. I think what I'll actually do is come in here and paint maybe some additional kind of elements. So we have a whole bunch of different brushes and whatnot. So let's actually look at all the different brushes that we might kind of look at here. I'm thinking maybe something, use some of that stuff as well. Yeah, we could use one of the snow ones probably pretty well. A lot of the snow elements in general probably work pretty well. Let's head on over to our winter art package here. Went a little bit too far there. And in our brushes here, we have a couple of different edges here that we might be able to use. I want to try to create a little bit more of a defining edge on some of these. So I think we can use something like this. So let's create a new painting layer. Well, let's actually start to name these. Right, so we can do this. Should we name these? And because we're going to be adjusting the colors of this a bit, I'll create a new painting layer. And we'll put this right in here, right underneath our shadows. Oh, I don't want that one. I want this one. And we might even be better if we go into our decorations here. Have some of these elements because I might be able to change their shape and sizes a little bit. One of the great things about using these little like snow elements is that they have a complete total range of color variations. And I'm actually going to paint them all out first and then adjust it on a layer. Unfortunately right now, so the question is from Strider 7. Is it possible to export this as an asset or image for storage outside of the application? And no, it's not, actually. The way that the system is held up, or not held up, but the way that the system actually functions is that this is just a system of numbers, basically, that point to all of the different assets. So when you open this, it actually rebuilds everything that we did. So there's no actual way to compress this down into a single image currently. I'm going to switch over to this, and you can see what I'm actually going to do here is create these little like edges. And I could even do it, well, we'll do it on one side. We'll see if this works. See if this works first. And I can use some of these different elements. Now we can go into this tab here, and we can adjust all of these. I can lower down that opacity. And I could make these a little bit more in tune with the rest of the environment here. So we can create some little edges along there. This is pretty good here. This is a little bit wonky. I don't know if I'm going to get the exact kind of element that I want. I think it'll be easier if I just come in here. I'm just going to define these edges a little bit more. So I might do that actually with another effects layer, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Great, so here's our background pretty well done. You see we got it undulating and everything. So now let's add in some additional kind of elements on there. Ooh, we have a question from Dean. Can you import and or make your own custom textures for the map making tool? Yeah, absolutely. Yep, anything that you have imported in. If you guys don't know how to bring an image into Fantasy Grounds, it's super easy. All you have to do is, and depending on what you have selected up here, and this is it's actually probably something that's good to go over once in a while. we have tokens, portraits, images, and all, right? This is everything that's listed in. Now, these images interact with the system. I believe that there are some changes that are going on with tokens on how they interact, but as far as I'm aware, they're still currently all the same, right? Like they all interact exactly the same way. I can paint with a token or set up another image as a token and so on and so forth. But whatever you have selected up here, and we have two buttons down here. We have store. So if you have tokens selected, for example, and you click store, it's going to take you to the Fantasy Grounds store where all the different tokens are available. And if you're on images, it'll take you to where all the other images and map elements are available. But if you click on folder, it'll actually pop up a folder for you. And you can't see this, but it's an open folder. And anything that you want to bring in, you just can drag and drop right into that folder and it'll become accessible to you. Now, whatever you drag and drop in there, it's going to be in your campaigns folder. So you can see that these are all things that I've had dragged and dropped into that. So here are some images that we did a long time ago, as well as some test images that I have worked on in here. But so anything that you have is going to be right in there. Now you might notice that there is another folder called data, and this is the images folder that is across all of your campaigns. So you can do it one of two different ways there. And here are the Krampus images that I created for the Krampus stuff. So yeah, very super easy to do. And once you have something dragged and dropped in here, as you can see, let's take these forests, for example, or maybe these mountains. Let's go into our painting area over here. I can just drag and drop that right in there. You see now I have the access of these mountains, and I can now begin to stamp these around. You see these are going to be adjusted because they are all of these things that are out there. But yeah, I'll just Control Z those right out of there. Super easy to do. So anything that you have, any images that you own, you can import in and use in the map making tools. All right, so what other elements? I think what we'll do is we'll grab some like rocks or something and start to place some rocks around. And we're going to do that outside of here. We're going to create a new painting layer, and we'll do this in another painting layer. Yeah, you're very welcome. And we could maybe go into the coastal one. I think that there are some cool ones. I want to go into the first coastal map pack. We got some nice kind of these rocks here. Now you can drag and drop these out as well. So anything that you want, you can just kind of drag and drop out. Because this is all going to be above anything that we did there, you can see that all of that undulating stuff, all of the other stuff, all of the water effects, it's all a layer-based system. So it's all going to be underneath. So we can begin to paint out some little elements. I think what will be cool to do is if we paint out some different like rocky formations, maybe they're like stones or whatnot in the gullet of the creature, and then we can make like a little like structures that people have built on it. I think that would be pretty cool. Let's go into our painting tools and let's grab some of these rocks here. Again, make sure we have the stamp tool selected. We might even actually have these are just all coastline kind of brushes. Oh, we have the, we can use that. We can definitely use that to augment our little stuff down there. I'm just going to type in rock so we get all of the rocks that are kind of coming. And we have an underwater art pack as well. Maybe we should use those. Those rocks. Yeah, let's go to the underwater art pack. We don't get to see that one very often. And I'm just going to type in rock here. We're going to get all the different underwater rocks that we might have. And we can start to build these up. I'm going to put all of these on kind of the same kind of layer here. And I'm going to do some adjustments on the colors here as well. Oh yeah, we could do some coral in here as well. You think we should do that? All kinds of cool different pieces of coral in here. Yeah, you're right. These would actually work really well in here. And you know what? We should probably put all of this underneath our undulation so that kind of moves with the bottom, don't you think? Like it gets shifted around a little bit. But yeah, these kinds of things I think will work really well. We can kind of paint in some of this stuff. I'll drop this down in underneath. It's starting to really look like a truly horrific landscape. Looks like a nightmarish level from like old Doom or something. Oh yeah. We should probably drop this right down in underneath all of our shadows and stuff as well. Or we should actually probably put this up here, and then we should raise our shadows to the top. Well, maybe not. Probably do it there. Yeah. We'll have to add in additional kind of elements, I think. I think we will. We'll have to mess around with these and see the order in which we go. We might want to take these. Might play with those a little bit. See the order in which we should kind of place these. Hey, Dark Soul. Oh yeah, we're making a fleshy environment, like the inside of a beast or something. I think we should actually drop this down in like this. And I think what we'll do is paint in, because these are a little bit abrupt, we might want to actually drop down the opacity of them a bit to maybe something more like this. But see, we should do this. We should do the this adjust colors underneath. So this should be down here. So we can kind of do things that are out over the environment here. We want to make sure we're on the correct painting layer here. I think we'll remove these and we'll do something that's a little bit less intrusive. I like these. Yeah, I think so too. These look like little elements that you might actually see inside of the edge of these pools. And I'll face them all in. Scabs. Your map has scabs. Yeah, like capillaries or bronchioli or something. We might want to fix the opacity of this. What I'll actually do is blend it in a little bit of additional elements. So did everybody have a good holiday? Or holidays, I should say. What I'll actually do is grab this once again as well. And I'll lower down the opacity here quite a bit. I spent them alone as well. It's kind of relaxing and nice. So now we get these kind of things like emerging up out of the grossness. It's interesting, isn't it, how underwater, like ocean elements, are so very similar to like internal bits. Do you think that that's because that all of the moisture that's contained in your bodies? Yeah, exploring a pimple. I like it. It would be cool though, like once you, if your characters ever face a giant monster and lose, it just swallows them and then they wake up in its gullet. Have to find their way out. All right, let's add in some kind of structured elements here. Yeah, 90% of the human body is water. So it would make sense that a lot of the internal mechanisms would be similar to the way something would survive underwater, right? I guess. So let's, we could do some, want to do like some rock kind of structures, but yeah, we should do them rounded. The underwater rocks are quite good. Um, let's go to, let's just type in rock. Well, we probably shouldn't do that. That's going to take a little search. Let's go up and let's go into our underwater art pack. We'll grab these rocks here and we'll use them. Well, actually, we can do it on the same painting later. Well, maybe we should make our own. Yeah, we should do our own. just in case we want to do any further adjustments to it. Yeah, we can do some coral, but we're getting we're at 4:30 here, so let's get a little bit of our structure going, then we'll go back in and add some of those little elements underneath. I want to make sure that we get a little bit further on our map here. Before we dive into too much additional kind of things, we'll add some here and here, and maybe one in the middle. We'll add in some coral, and we'll do it like coming up over the rocks and coming out from underneath. So we'll use this as our way of kind of creating our structures here. I actually think we'll do this. We can do some bridges going across these elements, perhaps. Maybe one large one here. And if we drop this down in underneath here like this. Maybe we just do it here. Yeah, I think so. And then we'll do, we'll paint in some shadows. We'll do another shadow layer. And we'll just do this really quickly. And we'll drop this down to 0, 0, 25, 25. We'll do some nice big cast shadows off of these guys. If we do it on this particular layer up here, what we can actually do is we start to put the coral kind of like coming up over the rocks and whatnot. Have that all in there. We should do a little bit underneath these rocks too. Some ambient occlusion coming out from the bottom edges on both sides. Excellent. Now let's add in some coral, I guess, and we can then build some structures on top here, I think. We do like some scaffolding going around, and maybe do like some little like structures. Then we can do maybe some bridges and whatnot that go across there. What type of coral do you think we should do? So one of the reasons why we have so many iterations of each of these, I'll kind of show you here. So that we can kind of make these feel like they're coming up over the rocks. And now what we can do is we can do these gradual kind of changes here. This is going to make it feel like that they kind of crest up over these elements. In a little bit more of a natural and believable way. Because the surface of the rock obviously is going to be rounded. It's going to come up over. Until finally we can do some straight up ones up near the top. Cool though. Awesome. And now what we can do is create some neat little elements in here on top. We'll create like some, well, we can either do it with the underwater art pack, or we can use some of the new, the desert kind of stuff that's coming out. Which, why don't we do that? We have a bunch of brushes that we can use from there and whatnot. But we might want to, yeah, let's do that. So we'll go into our desert ruins. And we'll create a new painting layer for this. We'll put it right on top. We might even want to put this one above the undulation. What we'll be able to do is kind of paint out some elements. like little platforms. And we can go underneath and do like some posts and beams and things. And I'm not going to do this very exact. I want it to kind of feel like, you know, it's and we could do bits across the way here. And then we can come back down and we could go into these lower painted areas. We'll have to create some shadows and whatnot from some of these. And I might actually go in, we might adjust these colors a little bit. You know what we should do? Yeah, let's duplicate this layer. And I'll create a little bit of an offset there to help it stand out a little bit. And we'll duplicate that one. And that'll help us give a little bit of separation from what's beneath. And we can start to build some structures up here and whatnot. We should actually do maybe some ropes as well, or chains. We'll have to do it. Definitely do like a sunken ship, like a ship over here. I think. I think what I'm actually going to do is where this green is down here. We'll adjust its colors here a little bit. Maybe not make it quite so green. And we have a whole bunch of different kind of ship construction stuff that I think will work well up here. So we'll grab some of these things. We might want to do this on its own layer as well. Again, make sure we have this. We'll grab this again. And again, I think what we'll do is we should probably, I'll make a new folder, bring this down here. And we can always duplicate these. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Here, where I want to do it. And we might even want to bring it out like this. And we can do a little drop shadow of it. Again, to help us get a little bit of separation from some of the other stuff. What a place. And if we wanted to, we could go into these rocks and we could kind of blend in some of these areas. So I should rename this. And if we wanted to, we could grab, well, we want to make sure that we're in the, all kinds of things happening. I think I like the separation a little bit better. Thanks, Bryce. It's quite the conglomeration, isn't it? And we'll just bring these in line with the other, as far as the color goes. And I think what I'll actually do, go up here. Grab like a vignette. And I'll make this quite a bit bigger here. And then I'll kind of give that rather a little bit of a shadow around the outside here. And I think we can go in maybe on the rock layer. And let's type in post. We'll do some of these like posts. Let's grab up, make sure we go back into our painting layer here. I think we'll make it a little bit redder as well. I think we make these a little bit darker, actually. And you know what? I think I'll actually make them a little bit those aren't quite doing it for me. Let's see what else we got here. Well, we could put some of these. Oh yes, you can do train tracks. There are tracks in some of the art packs. Not necessarily specifically train, but like mine tracks and stuff. So if we do a search, let's do a search for. This will also come up with all the different types of tracks and whatnot. But, so here we have some minecart tracks. These ones are not. These ones are from. Shockbolt. We have these. And this is all set up as like a brush, so you can just paint these out. These tracks are in Interior Map Pack 2, I believe. So let's see here. Yep, Interior Map Pack 2. And we should actually, while we're right here, we should probably add in a little bit extra shadow here. On these buildings. Oh yeah, yeah. There is also the abandoned places 1 and 2, which would be great for that. These boards down here on the bottom are a little bit too red for me. I think I'm going to remove them. I think they're on this layer. So all I have to do is switch over to my eraser. We can just come in and get rid of some of these. Yeah, we could maybe next week we could do a Fallout-esque subway system as well. Sounds fun. Oh, thanks so much, Waitable. The belly of the beast. And what we should do is go into this particular one here, and I'm going to elongate this. Do a little bit of a shadow coming off of there. That might be a little bit too dark. So I think what we'll do is just lower down the opacity of this a little bit more. Yeah, that's really starting to stand out a bit more from our background. What a strange and interesting place. What do you suppose the story behind this place is? So now, you know what we should do? We should do a couple of last things here. If we go into the Abyss art pack, oh yeah, let's hear them. Inside of here we have, I think is it a dwarf? No, that's just fire. Go into the decorations, and we have clouds and smoke here. I think I actually want these smoke ones. We'll do like some vapors coming up off of here. Well, we can actually do it with an effects layer as well. What do you think we should do? Paint it in, or no? Let's paint it in. We can actually do it with a combination of all of the above. Yeah, I think this one will do for us. We might want to pull it up a little bit higher, I think. Something like this. Now that looks a little bit more caustic. Oh yeah, it's like a hideout. They actually like hide inside of this giant beast. And if we want to, we could this particular. That's our undulation. I think it's this one. Maybe we'll duplicate that. And we'll make this one a ocean. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty cool. I like it. Ooh, a giant beast attacked a village, swallowing buildings whole. Oh yeah, I like that. Play games, Patty. That's cool. Awesome. Well, that is another successful map. I think that is, we'll call this one completed. What do you guys think? Maybe we'll just do a tiny bit more shadow right there. That one. Just want to do a little bit. Let's make sure we have our stamp tool selected. Very cool. Oh yes, yep. There's, in fact, I think that probably next month there'll be some. We have some more sci-fi packages coming, as well as some more modern stuff, Victorian era, Western art packs, a whole bunch of new stuff, expanding out of the fantasy genre. I think what I'm going to actually do is move the undulating under the rocks. Yeah, make this seem a little bit more concrete, and maybe we'll just turn down the undulation just a little bit. Oh yeah, for sure. We can come up with all kinds of cool ideas. How much undulation do you guys think we should have? Maybe we should do it a lot of undulation, but slow it down a lot. Yeah, I think that looks good. Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I think we'll call it here for the day. We've concluded another successful map. So we'll be here again next Saturday. I stream almost every Saturday from 3 p.m. Eastern Time till just around 6 o'clock. We're going to end it a little bit early today. We make maps, and all of these maps will become available on the Forge. So as we get a nice little conglomerate together, I will put them up there. I have a bunch that are ready to go up there, so those will be up there soon. But thanks everyone for joining me this Saturday. I really appreciate it. And we will see you guys all next time. And if you guys ever have any questions, or if I do something that I don't quite explain, I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts and whatnot. So if there's ever anything that I do that you guys are unsure what I did, just ask me, and I'm more than happy to explain further. But yeah, thanks everybody, and we will see you all next time. Take care.